When we talk about ancient civilizations, we're usually referencing the great historical powers like Rome, Greece, or Egypt. But how far back in time can we go and still uncover traces of organized communities and urbanization? 4,000 years? 6,000? In this video, we're going to look at perhaps the oldest civilization on Earth, unearthed in central Anatolia, Catalhoyuk. "9,000 years ago, a populace of Anatolian nomads settled down near what's now Konya in central Turkey, under the imposing glare of the volcano Mount Hasan. For several thousand years after the end of the last glacial period, European climates have been steadily warming up. At the beginning of the Neolithic period, Stone Age humans began to forego their traditional hunter-gatherer lifestyles, which had been crucial in colder climates, preferring to build more permanent homes and group in larger, multi-familial communities. As virtually our oldest remaining example of urbanized living, Catalhoyuk is integral to our understanding of the rise of civilization. A large, primitive settlement which flourished in the Neolithic period and fell immediately preceding the Chalcolithic Age, Catalhoyuk was one of the very first ordered cities in human history. Literally meaning Fort Hill, Catalhoyuk is thought to have been founded in about 7100 BC and survived for a period longer than the Roman Empire. Activity at the site vanished around 5700 BC. Excavations on the plains of Konya began in the mid-20th century, and so far, no distinct public or communal buildings have been uncovered at Catalhoyuk. This tells us that the civilization, and likely other Neolithic cities, was solely domestic and residential. Some experts have put forward that Catalhoyuk may have practiced an early form of communism, with the ancient inhabitants working for the public good and living in similar conditions across the entire settlement. No signs of houses reserved for nobility or specific social classes have been identified. Progressions in urbanization and community culture at Catalhoyuk may have been important in heralding the era of civilization in the Fertile Crescent, possibly leading to the founding of the famous ancient Mesopotamian city of Eridu in 5400 BC. With no actual streets or roads, residents built their homes in a complex honeycomb layout, leaning into the incline of the mounds at the site. The dwellers walked across the roofs of their neighbors' houses and entered through holes with ladders. Feasibly, the city may have housed a maximum of 10,000 inhabitants at its zenith, but it's more reasonable to estimate an average population of about 5,000 residents. Evidently, the Catalhoyuk residents gave special importance to hygiene and cleanliness. Unearthed garbage pits and the overall tidiness of each excavated household at Catalhoyuk suggest that its residents lived relatively simplistic and efficient lives. But the one thing more needful than cleanliness for the residents of Catalhoyuk was art. Representations of subjects from leopards to stars to hunting scenes are extremely common at Catalhoyuk, with the site being well known for its prominent displays of ancient artistic talent. Depictions of living figures like animals and people, most notably the seated woman of Catalhoyuk, pictured here, were commonplace at Catalhoyuk, with art acting as a fundamental pillar of culture for the inhabitants. Animal remains, such as the horns and skulls of bulls and oxen, feature prominently and strikingly at Catalhoyuk, which is especially interesting given that these animals had not even been domesticated yet. This is probably because the settlers still depended on hunting wild animals, and the animal bones artistically signified the importance of hunting to the culture of the Catalhoyuk people. But even though hunting was apparently an intrinsic necessity to the citizens of Catalhoyuk, the settlement pioneered the cultivation of crops, using agriculture increasingly efficiently. This resulted in a gradual but distinct progression in artistic abilities over the centuries-long lifetime of the community, with ever clearer and ambitious murals and carvings. One mural from the city may be depicting an eruption of the nearby Mount Hassan volcano, giving us at least one event we can date to the time of Catalhoyuk. Life at Catalhoyuk was especially community-based. The population shared communal ovens for baking primitive bread made from the first harvest of crops. The dwellers possibly met for religious practices and to speak with each other on the roofs of their houses, and one would be expected to look to their neighbor for help in trade and marriage. Signaling a definitive change in human culture from primarily hunter-gatherer nomadic lifestyles to urbanized civilization, the Catalhoyuk Revolution heralded dramatic changes in the traditional way of life for the inhabitants of ancient Turkey and the surrounding regions in the Fertile Crescent. Just a few hundred years after the neglect of Catalhoyuk, new booming cities were rising from Assyria to Egypt to the Mesopotamian river valleys. There are almost certainly other cities from Catalhoyuk's time that have not been discovered and excavated yet. Maybe when we find an even earlier city, we'll learn more about our ancient ancestors and the cradle of civilization. Despite its importance, as of yet, we don't know a great deal about the events occurring during the lifetime of Catalhoyuk, how it was governed for sure, or why it was ultimately abandoned in favor of newer cities like Eridu and Uruk in the river valleys of Mesopotamia. I really want to create more videos about ancient civilizations, as well as subjects like astrophysics and climate change. If you want to help me create better videos and upload more frequently, the link to my Patreon page is below. All patrons see new videos up to 3 weeks early. Your help allows me to make more content. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and thank you.